So it's not really like the solution. People shouldn't aim to just get more money for the sake of having more money. Like you should see, what are my goals like in life? I want to have a house. I want to have a family. Like I want to live comfortably. Sometimes that's just the goal for a lot of people.
Welcome to one more episode of Hiire Talks. Today we'll speak about money, personal finance, and a lot of interesting things with Francisco Raio. I'm super excited to have you here, Francisco. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, this topic it's super important, and people might think, yeah, what this has to do with recruitment, HR. But I think our life it's tied to money. Money it's a tool that helps us to do more stuff. And I think when people are struggling with money, they cannot make the right decisions on their career. That's why at Hiire Talks we decided to talk about personal finance, not only about money, because if your finances are organized, I think you can find a better job. If your finances are not organized, I think you might struggle on that. But we have an expert here to talk about this, Francisco. But first, I would like to get to know you a little bit better, and we always have this question to our guests to know them a little bit more behind. So, if your life were a book, what will be the title of that book, and what chapter are you currently living in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if it was a book, it would probably say something like it's all about the journey, or it's about the journey, not the destiny. Because that's how I see life really. We're always like trying to get somewhere to the next goal, always chasing the next shiny thing and the next targets, and we forget to enjoy like wherever we do to get there. And then when we get there, we always have something else to go afterwards. And I would say like the chapter that I'm in is just one where I'm trying to learn as much as I can and experiment as much as I can, and at the same time have fun with it. I'm trying to optimize for those two things, just happiness and learning. So as long as I'm happy doing whatever I'm doing and I'm learning from it, I'm good.
Nice, nice. I think you become happier learning stuff. So I think that always
Yeah,
helps when we
exactly.
come with
Yeah,
something new.
exactly.
So
The more
that's
you learn, I think like the more happy you can become as well.
yeah, yeah, agree completely. And I think yeah, we are in a similar chapter. I would say in somehow. But yeah, to go into the topic and also to bring a lot of knowledge to the people that are watching this episode, how can the knowledge in personal finance can help like anyone, not only professionally but also on their personal life to be more happy and more successful overall.
I mean, everyone knows that the world is run by money, right? Whether we like it or not, money basically shapes pretty much everything. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's up for discussion. But we need money. We need money to do things. We need money for getting comfortable, to be happy. In some places, you need money to take care of your health, and money impacts a lot of things, even the relationships you have with
Mhm.
people. So the more you know about money, and the more you know how to deal with money and the consequences it has, its benefits and disadvantages, I think the more successful you'll be personally with the people around you, but also professionally, like whether it is like finding a good job or getting a higher salary or making sure that you're feeling rewarded financially for the work you're doing. I think that's what like the term personal finance it's about, right? It's just like knowing how money impacts you personally and then knowing how to deal with it.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think that awareness, not everyone has it.
Yeah.
Like how you deal with money and how you treat money yourself. So I think it's very very important on this topic. Like any like big picture tips to people to learn better how to view money, not like manage money, but how to view money in your life and how you can be more like using as a tool and not as like
Yeah,
a direct meaning.
that would be like the definition I would give to people, that money is a tool. Like you should see money as a tool, not as a motivation. I think like I don't really like the people that do things because of money, or I always try
Mhm.
to not do things because of money. Obviously, like as I said, you need money to survive, and you need money to buy things and so on. But if you have the choice, I think money shouldn't be the motivation. It should just be like a tool. And if you look at money as a tool, then I think you will deal with it better, because you will do things that will optimize for your happiness and not for the amount of money you make. And I'm sure like everyone has heard stories of people like deciding for the money instead of whatever else, like their happiness or their family or wherever they decided against, and they regret it. So it's not really like the solution. People shouldn't aim to just get more money for the sake of having more money. Like you should see, what are my goals like in life? I want to have a house, I want to have a family, like I want to live comfortably, I want to have like can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
What people call the fuck you money, right? Sometimes that's just the goal for a lot of people, is that to have enough money to um, do whatever you want, and say no to a job that you don't like, or say no to certain things that you would have to do if you needed the money. So it's a tool, right? It's a tool to say yes or to say no. It's a tool to live the life you want, essentially. And if you look at it that way and you set your own goals to life, then you will know like how much money you need, or how many tools you need to get to that point in life where you feel like you'll be happy. And happiness, it's always like very abstract, obviously, and very subjective to like each person's own goals. But I think money works as a tool for everyone, and then it depends on where you want to get. That influences what you do to get more or less money to live.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, completely, completely. I completely agree. And like the bigger the tool, the more things you can do. So usually, if you have more money, you can do more stuff, but you also can be like creative and with less resources, still be happy. So not everyone needs to be a millionaire to be happy. But a lot of people say that personal finance advice is only applicable for wealthy people, but in reality, we both know that everyone like can control their own finances, and like to conquer something in life, you don't need to be rich or to have $1 million. Like, so I think you agree with this. But how would you explain to someone that is not healthy or doesn't have $1 million yet in the bank account, how they can really organize their finance to live more comfortably?
I think, yeah, it doesn't really matter like how much money you have. This is about like education. It's about knowing what to do with the money that you have, whether you have a lot or not. There's this like brand new podcast called Money Wise, and it's all like, it's from Sam Parr, like the guy from My First Million, and he just brings like really wealthy individuals on board. And what I see most of them saying is that the more money they have, the more the burden it represents for them. It's like
Mhm.
it becomes a full-time job to manage money when you have too much. And it also becomes like a huge responsibility, because just imagine like having 2 million or $100 million in the bank to manage. You would be like really scared like of losing it or doing something wrong with it. So it's a responsibility whether you have a lot or whether you don't know if you have enough to make it to the end of the month. So it's always like a big worry. It doesn't matter like how much money you have. And I think like personal finance is indeed like for everyone. Even if you have a lot of money, obviously you can make a lot more mistakes than the people who don't. But then it's like they all have like their benefits and disadvantages. There's a lot of like millionaires who lost it all because they couldn't manage it really well. And there's a lot of people like that came from nothing and became millionaires and managed their money really well. So um, again, it's about the journey. It's not about like where you want to go or where you are at the moment. And I think you need to learn that it's important to know money, like to know what it means for you and to know what to do with it, whether you have a lot or not.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a very good point because more money, more problems.
Yeah, exactly.
As some
Yeah,
songs
it's
says.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the reality because probably you are taking care of more people, you have more business, you have more people calling you because they also want your money or try to help you or try
yeah,
to take advantage from you. So I
yeah,
think being rich is not all fun and brings also some challenge. So it's a
yeah. I,
very
th- I think the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle. Like you don't want to be too rich
Yeah.
because like too rich is has its own problems, and then obviously like being too poor has a lot more problems. And so people might look at like being too rich as like a privileged person problems, but it's still a problem, and people still feel it. And as you said, like there will be a lot of people like around you trying to get the money. It will probably hurt a lot of the relationships you have with
Mhm.
people because people won't understand that you just can't give them the money, for example.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I mean it all comes down to education. Like if you're well educated and the people around you are well educated about money, then it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Then I think everything will be better if there's education like widespread.
Yeah. Yeah. You won't starve to death, but you'll have more emotional uh,
Yeah, exactly.
connections with people that will be challenging because you never know sometimes what there are true intentions. But let's come back a little bit here and be a bit more tactical. Like for someone that is starting their journey, they didn't care about like money and personal finance so far, and now they are listening to this episode and they are like, okay, I need to do something with my personal finance. Where they should start?
You should subscribe to Amador Financeiro. That's our personal finance newsletter. It's in Portuguese, like for Portugal, because Portugal has a big problem in terms of financial literacy. So do that first, and then I think the first steps that people should start doing is I think talking about money. Like it's a really good first step. Just like start asking questions like to your parents, to your friends. Like just try to learn from people not only like how much money they make but also like what they do with it. It's like where is their money sitting? Is it in a savings account? Do they spend it all? Do they budget? What do they do with it? And I think that's how I started learning like about money because people were either willing to share those details with me or I just like straight up asked them about it. And if you talk openly with friends, I think most friends would be open to help you and to
Mhm.
teach you, and they might not be doing like the right things. And then obviously you have to check what they've suggested. And I would probably say like again education, like try to maybe like read a book or two or go online and try to get more information about it, cross reference it with whatever your friends told you, talk to your parents. Maybe you have someone in the family who's more like comfortable with money.
Mhm.
So I think the proximity with the people that will introduce you like to money and certain topics like saving, investments, and so on, it's important. And then when you feel like comfortable about understanding things like budgeting and like expenses and savings and so on, I think a good exercise is just to like sit down and see, okay, how much money do I make per month, and then how much money do I spend, and then
Mhm.
when you do the exercise to see how much money you spend, you will have to go through all your expenses. And you could also like start labeling them and then just seeing, okay, I'm spending X on food, I'm spending Y on entertainment, and so on. And when you do this exercise, you will probably either be happy with it and you're like, okay, I'm not spending too much, I'm saving. So the next step would be to, okay, what do I do with these savings? Do I save it to go on holiday on during summer, or do I invest some of it, and so on? If you're not happy with it and you're spending too much or you can't even save to invest, then you should look at the expenses and see, okay, am I spending money unnecessarily on things that I didn't even know about because I just bought them by impulse, for example? Or am I not earning enough to cover the expenses that I can't really cut on, right? So I think those like questions and reflecting on that will help you know what to do next. Because if
Mhm.
you're happy with it, then your next step is to just like try to optimize your savings and put them like into some kind of an investment so you make more. But also if you're not, then it will probably mean that you have to change some things in your life that will make it better. It's just like this self-awareness of like, okay, what do I do with my own money right at the moment, that I don't think most people have. Like most people are not
Mhm.
looking at how much they spend, how much they save. They have no idea. If you ask them, like if you ask them like, where do you spend most of your money like per month, they will say I don't know. And if they look at it, they will probably find like big surprises and be like, oh, didn't even know I had these like direct debits coming out of my
Yeah.
account every month. Oh, I didn't even know I was paying, like still paying for the gym, and I'm not going for like the last 3 months. So things like they can seem small, and they probably are very obvious for most people like us. But I would say that there's a vast majority of the population, like around the world. I would say it's I'm basing a lot on Portugal and other countries, but I would say it's probably the same everywhere. That most people don't even bother to look at their own finances.
Mhm. Why do you think why that happened?
It comes down to education. I don't think like no one tells us about this in school. Then we probably don't have like a lot of friends around us talking about it and just
Hmm.
bringing up the subjects. We're probably like talking about football or something else. And I think like the more we make it normal, like and common to talk about money, the more people will seek more information about it. And I felt it like when I didn't know much about it, then I heard like my friends talking about their salaries and stuff. I would be
Hmm.
like, oh, I didn't know that. Is that actually possible? Like, can
Yeah.
I, for example, can I invest my money and like make more money with the money I already have? Or maybe it's just like talking about salaries, and then you're like, oh, but you have the same job as me, like just in a different company. Like, how come you're making more money than me? So all those like little things, they will spark some kind of like surprise or proactivity in you that will help you like seek more education and more information about it. And I think that's what triggers the whole thing. And then if people care, they will find more information, and they will learn, and they will get better. Obviously, like, you have to care, right? I'm not
Yeah.
going to force anyone to learn more about money, but as I say, like, the world is run by money. Like, I think 90% of the people care about making more money, or if you tell them you can make more money, they will ask you how, right?
Yeah. Maybe they won't put the effort, but they are curious to know how.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
least.
obviously. Then it's up to you. Like, is it worth like putting more efforts to make more money, or am I okay with what I have? And if you're okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
If you're not, I think you will probably try to learn more.
Yeah. But I think you shared very important things. Like first, talk about this with people. That I think it's a very taboo topic still in Portugal. So even with salaries, like when we are in interviews, I ask the salary of people and ask them how much they want to earn. And there is some
Yeah,
people, oh, I don't want to share my salary. But if you don't share your salary, like I won't know. I won't know if you are like above paid or underpaid, because
yeah,
when people are underpaid, I'm the first one to say it on interviews, and I only can say it if people like give me that information.
yeah,
And I think this is true for interviews, but it's also true when we are speaking with our friends, because people, I think they have some concerns like, oh, maybe I'm earning too much, and then maybe you are not earning that much
yeah,
comparing with some people. And I think people are very a bit scared of this, but also reading about it. So of course you need to have curiosity. You need to search by books, by things. But if you start speaking about it, probably people tell you read this, read that, so it become easier. And then the last thing that you shared, it's budgeting. That, yeah, I think people think they know where they spend. They're like, oh, on clothes, on food. But then if they register, they will find out that maybe they are overspending on those categories, and they are spending also more on other categories. And also they don't know how much money they are making. Sometimes I also ask salaries to people, and they're like, oh, I need to check the payslip. And I was
yeah,
like, how do you need to check your payslip? You don't, that goes every month to your account. How you don't know how much you are earning?
yeah,
And for me, those things like surprised me a little bit, because I started like to invest in a young age and started to budget very early on. Um, because I saw there was an opportunity or something that I needed to do like better, and I needed to control a little bit my finance. And people usually don't feel that has a need until it's a pain.
yeah,
So usually people just move because they have pleasure or they have pain, and money gives you can give you a lot of pleasure. But when money gives you pain, you'll start to act more about it. And sometimes I
yeah.
think people don't do it that very often.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm lucky, and you're probably like lucky as well to like be born with people around you that will probably like push you to learn more about this. But I think like the people who are not, and they're born like in some medium of people and society that doesn't really like know this stuff, or doesn't really seek this stuff. I think for those people, like that's why education is so important. Like schools, I think should be
Hmm.
speaking more often about this and like planting these like little seed of like wanting to know more about money from a young age. So then when people get to our age where money starts to become a pain, because when you're a kid, it's not a pain, right? You just ask your
Yeah.
parents like for stuff and they either say yes or no. And I think like from a young age, people should just know like what money means, and you don't need to like supercharge them with a lot of knowledge and like take away all the fun and of being young. But I think it's important just to like start introducing like slowly this concept, so that when they get to our age, they're a lot more comfortable and they don't have to make such a huge effort to go and seek out more about money.
Yeah. No, completely agree. And nobody on my family like invested; they just save. And for me, it was weird. But I study a bit of economics, and for me, it was a very interesting topic, and that helped me like to research more about it,
Yeah,
and was like a more natural curiosity. And I just think that it's also sometimes important to speak with the right people. I also have an example. Every time that I wanted to change jobs, I would ask my mother, that does the same
yeah,
job for 20 years, "Hey, mom, I'm thinking about changing jobs." And the first two times she was like, "Changing again? You are so good there. Why you are so comfortable there? Why you want to change?" And I was like, "I will change anyway." And now, on the last times that I changed jobs, I was informing her of my decision, not asking anymore. And if you speak with someone that's more conservative on the investment side or money wise, I think that won't help you to go to the next level. You really need to speak with someone that can really help you out.
yeah.
Otherwise, it can be the reverse effect.
I think you should like try to seek like different opinions, obviously, and then like make
Mhm.
your own out of what you hear. But yeah, like don't focus too much on one person's opinion. Like seek out multiple ones, and it's good if they're different.
Mhm.
So then you can find like if you're more like risk averse or if you're more conservative. So, but that depends on like your own personality, I guess.
Indeed, indeed. So we talk about like the principles like of you getting started. So talking with people, reading, budgeting, and regarding investments, that's usually what people want. Go first and make money and produce more money with your money. What are the myths that you'd like to share with people that are not true, or which things you believe that people should know before going for it?
I think before doing that, like just make sure you have everything under control. That like you're making way more money than the money you spend. Once you're in that comfortable like situation, then you can start thinking, okay, I have this all extra money. I'm not going to do anything with it for the next 10 to 20 years. Let's see what I can do with it in terms of investing. That's my approach with it. Like never invest money that you need
Mhm.
either now or like in the next like mid term. I would say like on a more conservative approach, like in the next maybe 5 to 8 years. Because if you lose it all, then you will have enough time to recover it, obviously.
Mhm.
So the longer the period, like the long, it means like it takes you like that amount of time to recover. So just look at the amount of money you have and then see, um, save like part of it and put it as an emergency fund or for something that you will see coming super soon, like buying a house or having kids or whatever. And then the rest you can start investing, and then it depends. Like for me personally, I think a myth is that some people believe they can beat the market. Maybe it's not a myth. Like it's well known, I think, but a lot of people still think it's possible, especially like with day trading or forex stuff. And I feel like they're smarter than the rest, and that there's like this guy that they follow and that they join the Discord or wherever. You can't like. There's really like very few people that do it well, and they're just like the outliers. Like you're not an investment expert, you're
True.
just like a normal guy with a normal full-time job who has extra money to do it. Like don't go into that way. So the way I personally do is just like a long-term vision. The money that I invest, it's mostly like in S&P 500 ETFs, and it's there like compounding. Like I'm not going to touch it for the next like 20, 30, maybe like 40 years. It's basically like my retirement fund, unless I
Mhm.
really need, obviously. But that's how I look at it. And I don't worry about it. Like I just put it there like every month, very consistently. That's what people call like the dollar cost average, right?
Hmm.
So that you always like at the end of the year you buy the average price of wherever the shares you're buying was. That's how I invest. So I don't worry about it. I don't look at it. Maybe I look at it from time to time, but I'm not obsessed about it. It's like not doing day trading. So it's the same as like putting money aside on a savings account in the bank, except it returns me like between 8 to 14% a year instead of like what's 1 or 2%.
Okay.
Um, so that's my like personal approach, and I think what most people should do because it's conservative. It's not risk free, but it's almost risk free. I usually tell people like because they're afraid of losing money when they invest it, and I'm just like you only lose if you sell. And
Hmm.
if your vision is long term, I can tell you that like in 20, 30, 50 years, the economy is way bigger than it is now.
Yeah.
Unless like something really drastic happens, obviously. But you can also like get run over by a car when you get off your house. So if you think of like in normal terms, and obviously there will be events in the meantime, like COVID or like the 2008 financial crisis, they will happen in the next 10, 20, 50 years. But it doesn't matter because the market always recovered afterwards. Like that's how humans are. Like we're very resilient. And even if the whole world gets destroyed by, I don't know, let's say there's a nuclear war going on right now, right? There's a risk that will happen. If it happens now in 50 years, I can see the world like pretty much recovered from it already.
Hmm.
Um, so if you're thinking like really long term, things will only go up and to the right. But obviously, like this is a really long term vision. Not everyone has the time if you're older or the patience for it. But I would say like if you're young and you have this patience, that's how you should be investing your money.
Yeah.
This is not financial advice.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Neither of us are like financial advisors, so this is just our opinions and our experience.
Exactly.
I think it lacks some patience to the more young people. Everyone, even me, I invested a lot on stocks just to have some drill and to
Yeah.
think. I thought that I would know better, but usually there was some wins, but there was also some losses, and I think that's also part of the game. And usually, in the short term, it's nice. It's like going to the casino. Like you
Yeah.
can win the first few plays, but if you stay too long on the casino, the probability of you losing your money it's big. And I think with investment outside of like a ETF strategy, if you don't spend a lot of time on it and a lot of energy and a lot of having some ability to like do technical analysis and this type of things, I think probably you'll be losing. Um,
Yeah,
and
and I
regarding
think it's
what,
like
yeah.
it's the myth and like people being afraid of investing their money. It all boils down to again education. Like it's just
Mhm.
because people don't know enough. But I find it funny because actually it's quite clear. Like people are way more prone to invest their money in like lottery tickets or
Yeah.
stuff like that because it's easy to understand, right? Like I just they will randomly pick a number, so I'm going to buy as many numbers as possible, and maybe I will win. I mean, you won't, right? The probability of you winning is really really small. But then I think like the myth and the fear of investing, like especially in the stock market, is that I mean when you think about stock markets, I can tell like the two words that people will immediately think that go along with it is crash, like the
Yeah.
stock market crash, right? It's so like famous and. I think it just stuck on people's minds. That's where the fear comes from, and it's not a rational fear. I understand it, but also because like it's a bit more complex to understand than a lottery ticket, and also to buy and to get in and so on. There's all like you have to install an app, you have a KYC process to go through, you have to transfer money there. It's not as
Mhm.
simple as going like to a kiosk and just buying a ticket. I think that's why it's a lot of people just like are held back from going into it. But I think more and more people, like as generations evolve, will start like getting more education and being more comfortable with it. But again, like if people don't know, they will default to like being afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. And to that, the barrier of entering the stock markets, it's way lower than it was like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
10
exactly.
years ago. So it's super
Yeah,
easy. Like in 1 2 days, you can have an account and you can put 500 euros. test some stuff. So I
Yeah.
think where it's getting lower, but yeah, going to bet in a lottery, it's a way easier and a way more fun because you see results on the next week, and maybe
Yeah.
you earn a couple of bucks and you feel happy about it, but that won't change your life and you lose money on the long term. And even if you are very lucky and win, most of them ending up to lose all their money afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it, and I think it's you. I think life gives you the money that you are able to handle it during your life. There is like a saying. I'm not sure exactly
Yeah.
how it's pronounced,
Hmm.
but it's something like
Yes.
this. Yeah, and I think yeah, if you win like a big check from one day to another, you won't be able to handle it. If you like build your life consistently, will be one day that you have a lot of money, but you know that it's a tool and you can move it and travel more, help people, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And since we were both like freelancers, entrepreneurs, or going on that journey, and I think there is also a lot of people that listen to this that are thinking about it or are on this stage of their life, they want to start their small business or their freelance life. And usually it's much harder to invest and save because sometimes you earn in 1 month, sometimes you gain
Yeah.
€0 in 1 month. Which type of advice would you give to people that want to be on this situation or are in this situation right now?
I mean, if you want to like to go freelance and quit your job and like venture into something of your own, I think you need to have a plan. I mean, and you need to build like a good safety net to be
Mm-hmm.
comfortable during like the trial phase of your plan. I think you need to think about it that you will have, I don't know, 3 months to test it. So you will quit a job and you will have 3 months to find clients that will make you X amount of dollars or euros per month that you will be happy with. And if that doesn't happen at the end of 3 months, then you know what to do next. Either you will go and find a job or change something else, or maybe go a bit more into your savings because you feel like things are starting to happen to you. So having a plan and a good safety net, I would say it's number one step to do it comfortably and without a lot of risk. But also make sure that you're comfortable with these ups and downs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen. It's real. Like everyone feels it. And if you're not a person who can survive the lows, I would say like don't do it, or try it and then see if it's for you or not. Another thing that I think it's really important is like sharpen your sales and marketing skills like before you go
Mm-hmm.
into it. No one will sell for you, no one will market your skills for you. Like you will have to do all the work. Like you will have to tell people what you're doing, what you're good at. You will have to convince them, you will have to draft contracts, you will have to negotiate rates. Like you will do it all on your own. So make sure you have some practice on like selling services or products to people, and also like marketing yourself and your values and your skills, because that like it's make it or break it, if you have them or not. If you are already like freelancing, I think a big mistake that I see people doing is just like counting on existing clients to be there forever, or to
Mm-hmm.
put all your eggs into one nest, essentially like relying on one or two clients. So the number one advice is just like diversify as much as possible to de-risk. Like I had this post like quite a few months ago that's basically had a picture comparing like you working full time for someone and getting fired. So you go from one source of income to zero really quick. If you're freelancing and you have also one client, you're also going from one to zero. But if you have five, it's very unlikely that the five of them will fire you like at the same time. So you
Yeah.
always have some time and um, some basically lag to find the next ones and stay afloat essentially. So I
Mm-hmm.
think de-risking is something that you should keep on top of your mind. And also like this comes with like planning mid to long term. You always need to keep an eye on your current clients. I really like this like system where you almost like give them colors. So if they're really like, if you know they will like stay for the next like 3 months, they're green. If they're a little bit on the fence and you're not sure if they will drop out in like a month, give them a yellow. And if you're like almost 100% sure they will drop off at the end of the month, put them in the red zone. And then, like, how many are in the red zone. Those are the ones that I need to start like replacing quite soon. So if you have leads on the pipeline, start trying to convert them and to sign some contracts, because we will lose some of those guys. And then the yellows, like, try to see what they do over the next month. And you always like repeat these, right? There will always be clients on the green, yellow, and red zones. So you always need to plan a little bit into the midterm. I think long term is too much, because things will change until you get there. Short term is too short, because you won't have enough time. So I would say, like, plan mid long term, and I think this is maybe like 6 months into the future. Um, I think that's probably like the best advice. And also is like, talk more about what you do. A lot of people are already freelancing. I don't even know they're freelancing because they don't know, because they're not talking about it. Like, they're not showing people the work they're doing. They're not talking about the problems they have, or the problems they solve, the challenges they're facing. Like, just put yourself out there, maybe like just a little more. Um, Slowly. I think
Yeah.
not a lot of people will be comfortable with it, but like doing it slowly will get you far.
Yeah, no, it helps, and you need to get used to it. It's a lot of new things, and
Yeah.
you need to handle a way more. And you said something funny: when you have like a permanent contract, you can go from having a salary to not having a salary. But even then, sometimes, most of the times, you will have like half. You'll have like insurance or unemployment benefits. So probably you don't go to zero, but as a freelancer, you can go to zero very quickly, or to minus zero, because you might have expenses.
Yeah.
So I think your appetite to risk needs to be much higher, and your safety net also needs to be much higher to make sure that the lows are not that low. Because yeah, we both know the lows will exist and will be there, and will be months where you cannot sign anyone or you are not delivered to your clients, while will be months that you get a lot of clients and everything is going very well and you are very excited, but you also cannot just trust that things will continue that way in order to have success. So I think what you said, it's very important. One more time, talking with people about this, I think it's key. Having your safety nets, it's very important, so you don't struggle. And marketing and sales, it's of course skills that you need to have in order to be, yeah, to survive on this market, because otherwise it will be a way difficult.
Yeah.
Very good points, Francisco. Um, so to finish here the episode, I think we already shared with you a lot of great tips, a lot of great content, things that you can apply very easily. But Francisco, I'm not sure if there is like any last hacks that you would like to share with our audience in order to make sure their personal finance are very good and they can strive and be not only a happy professional, but also a happy person in the end of the day.
I think it's there's a good book that I really like. It's called The Psychology of Money. And
Hmm.
there's like one of the learnings that I got from it is this sentence that says that wealth is what you could buy, but you don't.
Mm.
And this really stuck with me, because I feel like being like wealthy or being rich is not really about like having a lot of cars or having a big house, but more about knowing when and when not to spend your money. And I think people get wealthy and they get rich when they could buy things, they could buy a new car, they could buy a new house, but they don't. So it's wealth is like it's having that power to do those kind of things, but having the control at the same time to not do it. That's how you get wealthy, and that's how you stay wealthy as well. And I think that one really really stuck with me, because it's not about like the shiny things. It's just about like knowing what to do with the money that you have, in order to either like get more or to just keep the one you have. And I think the other one is I have two here. This is more like financial related, but
Hmm.
one that is more like related to like freelancing, or maybe like going into something that it's a bit more risky than what you're used to, is that I saw this sentence on a post. I don't remember who posted it, but it said like, remember, you always figure it out. You just need to panic first. And I feel like it really resonated with me, because there's a lot of moments where maybe I'm not like panicking exactly, but I get scared or I get really agitated by it, and I'm not sure like what's going to happen. Like talking about all these uncertainty and risk that goes on when you venture into something unknown to you. People always like figure it out at the end, right? They just like you just need to panic first. Like you panic a little bit, and then all that panic like generates some kind of like alertness in you, and then you find a way to figure it out. And this applies to a lot of things in life, right? Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, there will be things where you will have to panic first and then figure it out. But remember, like you always figure it out at the end of the day. And I
Yeah.
really like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very good one to finish here the episode, because yeah, we will panic, and that we need to assume that we'll panic or we'll be nervous or we'll be concerned about something. But that's the thing that helps us to move forward if we channel that energy. So, and
Yeah.
especially with investing, yeah, you'll panic in your fancy investments.
Exactly.
You'll struggle with that, but then yeah, maybe you win, maybe you lose, but you started, and doing the first step, usually it's the most difficult thing, like getting the first clients, getting the first investments, hiring the first person to your company, and then you are like, okay, this is not that difficult, let's do it again. And I think life, it's a lot like that, right? Trying something new, and then you think it's not that scary. I can do it. I can do it again.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. Francisco, thanks a lot. I think was very, very useful. Like this type of content, I had a very good time in this last like almost 40 minutes with you, and learn a lot of things. I hope the people on the other side also learn a lot of things. If you have questions for me or for Francisco, feel free to drop them in the comments. We'll answer as soon as possible. I hope you got something from this podcast. Also, add on the comments what you learned. And one more time, Francisco, thanks a lot for joining me, and we see each other very soon, hopefully. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Gonzalo, and thanks to the Hire team for the invites. I hope people find some value in this episode and keep up with the good work. Thank you.
Yeah, they will. Thank you. Bye bye.